But I couldn't have that want. Yes, he said, as if she'd spoken a deep truth. Pastor, he lifted his head. Is there really a heaven? And finally the pastor gave her his eyes. Yes, I believe so. What if there ain't? Well, do you want there to be a heaven? I don't know, Massey said. I mean, what is it? All I ever heard about was angels and harps and stuff. But that ain't real. It ain't like that, is it? He placed his hands on his knees and slowly stood. He stared at the desktop. In my weakest of times, I've wondered why I've lived here at this camp, teaching kids silly songs and trying to teach them something small and safe about the Lord. He set his hands behind his back to brace himself. Years ago, we had this very wealthy donor who owned a place overlooking Central Park in Manhattan. This was many years ago, before the storms ravaged it all. He flew me out as a kind of treat, I suppose. He owned this penthouse in this beautiful building, all marble floors, a pool inside, view of the park. He told me how much the place was worth, and it was an outrageous number. The pastor walked over to the window and set the fingertips of one hand to the glass. This is all we have. This world, that view of the park he spent so much on, more money than I'd seen in 10 lifetimes, money that would feed my entire camp for decades. Did me no better than standing on my old bridge and watch the river pass beneath. It was just a view. And his view's not even there anymore. As much as I adore mine, I know a view can only do so much in matters like these. He turned to Massey and leaned back against the sill. We're always hoping to push through into something better. A better house, or better car, better meal. Some use drugs or alcohols, thinking they'll pass through into something other than what we have. Men start wars, thinking of what they'll pass into. But it all comes back to this. This is all we have. Trees and rocks and water and sky. He turned to Massey. Unless you have heaven, I have heaven too, he said, tapping a finger against his temple. But I won't fight for it. One should never fight for heaven. Why would you ever fight for something no one could take from you? Massey stared into her lap, not understanding what he was telling her, afraid now she'd say it wrong. What you said about God giving us what all we want, she said. I don't know, I just wish I didn't want for nothing. Then she let herself see the man. The folds of his chin, his crooked nose, eyelids sagging over his piercing blue eyes. That'd be my heaven. Place where you ain't got to want. The old man peered off as if in deep contemplation, and then a look of horror broke over him. He shut his eyes and clenched his teeth. Thank you, he said. Thank you, my dear. What for? He eased back to sit in his desk chair. Heaven is a place without want. That's it. That's all I should have said. They considered each other without speaking, and the pastor opened a drawer and pulled out a gray metal box. From the box, he drew out a set of keys on a chain with a plastic fob that showed a smiling bear and the word Hippwa in a splash of red letters across the top. Go on and find your sister, the pastor said, and slid the keys across the desk and in front of Massey.
everybody doing?
Excellent.
Excuse me. All right, so what can be said about Patricia Smith that hasn't already been said before? Between her numerous awards and fellowships and her monumental collections of poetry, including Blood Dazzler, Should Have Been Jimmy Savannah, and her forthcoming collection, Incendiary Art, Poems, out on Northwestern Press, February 2017. Patricia has become an icon, not just in the world of poetry, but one across the entire literary spectrum. Her poems are vital, human, challenging, and provide an essential means for dialogue in these often turbulent times. But I don't need to tell all of you that. Instead, let us open ourselves to Patricia's words tonight. Let us let them and her move us in ways only language can accomplish. It's my honor and pleasure to welcome Patricia Smith to the stage.
Let's go, poet.
Please. All right, so one of the most, thank you, Bryce. How many successful thesis defenders do we have here? Stand up for a second. We're sincerely going to miss you guys. One of the most exciting things that happened to me the last couple of years was a woman named Madge Wilson came to me. Her husband, Michael Abramson, was a photographer who died in 2011. He put together a series of photographs that he had taken in 1970s Chicago blues and rhythm and blues dance clubs. And the first time they put it out with music that was in jukeboxes at the time, and it got nominated for a Grammy. And she sought me out and she said, I really, really want to hear the voices of the people in the photographs. So this book came out last year, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some of those faces, and we're going to do some poems. All right? Our Father which art in heaven, mellow be thy name. Thy midnight come, thy will be shunned and shy as it is in this club here. Give us our jams, our nightly beat, and forgive gals who won't dance against us. Lead us straight into temptation and deliver us from women who are evil. For mine is the dance floor with its power and its glory. Amen. Chicago men got a swagger that says they know alleyways and 100 ways to tame salt pork. They know how to cut loose, how to double a negative and clear a room. Chi-town men mean every explosive thing they mutter to a woman. The shock in their words is real. They smoke a sweet, particular poison. Afraid that the eyes might really be windows to the soul, they wear shades smudged dim. Behind the glasses, their wants are wide open. Chicago women got a swagger that says they know the ways of Chicago men. They come up in the shadows of lumbering boys. The women built themselves up on double dutch and swigs of cooking grease from sink-side jars. When they dance, their unbridled hips bellow like fists, overwhelming whatever the music thought it was. What did the music think it was? In charge. But no Chicago woman has ever met a dance floor or a man she couldn't buckle and break. She smiles because she knows that. He smirks because he doesn't. From underneath a wide brim, not ruling the room is never an option. This morning, nobody could remember my name. I was just some man with no music in my shoes. Now everyone holds their breath when I bop toward them. From underneath a wide brim, I have the power to bless. It's a halo I can dip, adjust, drop low over one winking eye. Not everybody comes here for a woman. Some of us come for a certain blue, for the wicked skip of that broke-ass jukebox. We don't come hunting for luck or a gal with her whole night twisted in our direction. Sometimes all we want is what whirls hard at the bottom of a shot glass or the heartbreak song that only cost a dime and a dime. We're here because our apartments are too damn hot, and it's July, and it's Chicago. We ride in Buicks that look like boats. We come because the street pushed us in here, right up to the wash of a red light where we prop up bony and mean and looking like we didn't come here looking for women. All night we bob our heads to each other's bad news, brag to everyone that there are blades shoved deep in our pockets just in case. We cuss the air to keep ourselves awake, wear wide brims because they're close to crowns. We glare to keep the world away from our hearts. You guys don't have to keep applauding.
Oh, there we go.
Not at all wooed by the abstract art, the swarmy blurb for pimp oil, or the I got this leer of this man who most certainly does not have this. She has decided to, once again, be her own art. Her symmetry is frightening. Her hair is spritzed and sprayed against droop, and its graduated gilt squeals softly under the blare of the club lights. The teeny scarf, bowed and bowed again, seems to grow demurely from her neck. And the gentle east-west of her chest, well, as long as she doesn't move, as long as she doesn't spoil the still life of herself by lifting that cigarette to her lips, glory be this night. Ain't no woman like a Chi-Town woman. Everywhere she be, there be art. So the other night, Victor come in and he telling everybody about how somebody done broke into his car, a piece of shit that was broke down to begin with. But anyhow, they took some things, wasn't much, just that Stetson he keeps cocked on his head all the time. Some change in a change purse one of his women had left in there, a couple of tools out the trunk, so even though they didn't take the damn car, which they could have, Victor coming here looking like his life is over, crying about what happened. And I think it was Joe, who worked cleaning up at the pool hall. Joe asked Willie, do you have any idea who could have broken your car? And Willie said no, but then somebody, I think it still might have been Joe, said, hell, you ought to